Hello Internet, this is the Too Complex video tutorial series. This video is about how to draw text using our library. To get started, I'm going to make an empty C++ file called text.cpp here in the sandbox directory. And then inside text.cpp, I'm going to pound include sprite-environment.h. Here I'm going to subclass sprite environment, so class text environment, public sprite environment. Empty braces for now. I'm going to make a main down below. Inside the body of the main, return 0. I'm going to instantiate a text environment called e, and then call e.mainLoop. That ought to be enough to get a window on the screen. Let's just make and run to make sure. Make text and /text. There's our window. Now, to draw text using our library, first we're going to need an image file with images of all of the characters that we care to draw. I'm going to copy it from the examples directory, helv.png. Let me show you what's in this file. This is a rectangular array of characters, ASCII characters, starting with space in the lower left and going up in ASCII order to the top. Here in the source, to draw text we need two kinds of object. We'll start with font. Font represents a bitmapped font like the one you just saw in texture memory on the graphics card. And a text object, text with a lowercase t, that represents text that draws on the screen using a font. I'm going to override the environment's init function, void init, empty parentheses. Down here I'll put the implementation of that, text environment, void text environment, init, empty parentheses, and then braces. Here's where I'm going to initialize the font and text object, starting with the font. But before I get started with that, I need a bitmap. Bitmap is a class in our library that represents a bitmapped image in main memory. Now I'm going to initialize that bitmap using the contents of the file that I just showed you, and I'm going to type this line slowly so I can explain each part. We'll start with bank. Bank is a type in our library. It's when I say bank, think asset bank or resource bank. A bank represents a method of retrieving data from files. It has a function called initBitmap with path, and that takes two arguments. The first is a pointer to a bitmap object. I'm going to give it $bitmap, and the second is a path. I'm going to give it a path to the image file that I just showed you. Now I can call font.init with bitmap and give it the bitmap that I just made. I need to inform the font of the number of rows and columns in the rectangular array of characters. Font.number of rows equals 6. Font.number of columns equals 16. And that's all we're going to do to initialize the font for now. Now looking to the text object. So text represents the actual text on the screen that we'll draw. Text has a member called font. We're going to set that equal to &font. And it's got a member called s. That's a standard string, so we can set that to whatever string we like, my message. And it's got x and y coordinates, so let's just give it some x and y coordinates to put it somewhere in the midst of the window. That's fine, but nothing will draw yet because we need to override the text environment's draw function, so void draw empty parentheses const, and then down here I'll put the implementation void text environment draw empty parentheses const, and inside the body call text.draw. In the terminal I'm going to make and run one more time text /text, and there's my message. But as you can see, the horizontal spacing is a little bit wrong, and that's because we initialized the font with an image file, but we didn't tell it anything about the content of that image file and how the characters should be spaced. Now, font has an array called widths. which you can set tediously by hand, and that will inform the font of how much to space each character. But let's not do that by hand. Font also has a helper function called getWidths from bitmap that looks into the bitmap image and guesses at where the characters are, and it usually does a pretty good job. So let's make and run one more time. And there's my message, now horizontally spaced reasonably. That's how you get started. If you go to toocomplex.com, you can find more about how these classes work. You can download the source tree where I'm working right now, and you can find more videos like this one that'll help you get started making your game. Thanks for watching.